as you extend this and make this part of an ongoing dialogue in the community, there should be women on this panel talking about the problems of how women face life raising their kids while their spouses are incarcerated, and women being the fastest growing population in the prison industrial complex, i.e. black women and Latino women. And this is a real issue with respect to how it impacts on our community and how that community grow and who nurtures and care for these children that we've just talked about. A couple of things in terms of institutionalized repression. I want to talk about institutionalized racism and how that's reflected. There was an article in the New York Times today, a student from, I believe, BMCC, 22 years old. He, seems like what one would call, quote, a good kid, visiting his grandmother in uptown, going to his house in Queens, stopped by the police so often until this young man said he has developed a real fear of a fearful reaction of the police because they're going to stop him on any pretense, patting him down, searching him. Well, almost as if it's just for fun. Oh, you can go now. I mean, it was a very riveting account of a young man who's just barely 22 years of age, and he's had encounters with the police since he was 14 years of age. So on that note, talking about institutional racism and how that is reflected in the NYPD and other police departments, has there been any serious consideration of the NYPD being put into receivership, as was the Philadelphia Police Department? Because it hasn't gotten any better under Bloomberg. It's the same as it was under Giuliani. Instead of Giuliani, it's Giuliani time. Now it's Bloomberg's time, and the brutality is even worse. So that as a possible solution. And also, just in terms of money and what we've discussed here tonight about the money going into the prison industrial complex. But here we have the first African-American president, and they have a bailout of $16 trillion to the banks. Where is the taxpayers' money? $16 trillion to the banks, plus another $15 trillion that we just learned about? And so, I mean, I think, in discussing these issues with the community, we really have to look at the role of government, not only in terms of civil repression, but also the fact that they are bailing out capital in its deep crisis, and that crisis that is not going to get any better. And the excellent point that was made by all of the speakers was the repression at home to keep the population in control as they expand imperialism and with plunder and pillage abroad. And just very quickly, I was in a conference in Algiers. It was an emergency conference against wars and occupation that was called by the major trade unionist movement throughout Africa, North Africa. And it's been based in Algeria. Not only were people talking about, and it was people from the region and from Europe and from Africa, about the barbarity of the murder of Gaddafi, but also the death throes of U.S. Of imperialism, global imperialism, and what it means for the rest of the world in terms of the fact that these beasts and monsters are coming after the world to dominate it. So, I mean, and that fits into everything.